I'm personally honored just to have this next speaker here, John Madsen. Who here is familiar with John? Maybe heard him, or okay, cool. I don't need to do a big intro. He's just a powerful individual, man. His story. I listen to his podcast back that we did together sometimes when I just need to get fired up. Like the amount of adversity that he's gone through and he's worked through, and his mindset. We often talk about mindset, but it's cool to see somebody that like truly lives it, and not only lives it, but knows how to communicate it in a way that's digestible and applicable. So the dude is a really successful businessman. But what I love too about his story, business-wise, is like nothing came easy. A lot of people might look at John and be like, "Oh, must be nice, 6'8", beautiful man who like played in the NFL, badass watch that I kind of want one now." But he's basically dealt with every fucking setback you could ever imagine. And John, before you started to turn a profit in your business, if I recall, you were $250K deep in mentorship, something like that. Who here is willing to continue to push at that level of sacrifice, right? But it's just part of his story. And I'm excited to share his story with you guys and just for you guys to get to experience like his power. So without further ado, welcome to the stage, John Madsen.
This cash machine is loaded. That's perfect. That's perfect. We're going to talk a lot about money for the next 45 minutes. So thank you for having me, and thank you for that introduction. Super excited to be here. This is feels really good to be here. This is 250 beautiful people. So I hope you enjoy what I have prepared for you. We're going to get into some of the beliefs that I think you need to break in order to create a massive 7-figure business. I hope to leave this stage tonight with you guys going home with a certain understanding of what's possible. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna try to slam $3.5 million worth of lessons into the next 45 minutes. So we're gonna get right into it. Today's topic, how to consistently knock down $100,000 months. And this is an important part with dream clients on demand, because any clients are not what we want. So I'm going to talk about how to attract dream clients with some tactics and strategies. Before I do that, I want to ask the room if anybody else wants to make any more money. Is it just me? What about making money while you're on the golf course? Anybody like to golf? Yeah? What about making money at the spa? Getting a massage? Making money on vacation? Because the one thing you're going to learn about me is I'm going to talk about money, but it's not about the money. It's about the freedom. So December 31st, 2021, you guys, this is a little small, so I apologize there. But basically, this is my Slack channel. And so on December 31st, 2021, it is New Year's Eve. Me and my wife were staying right down the road. I'm from Scottsdale. We're staying at a 5-star resort. And at, what time is it? At 8:04 in the morning, there was a sale came through my Slack channel, $2,000 pay in full. That was for a 1.5-day live event. 9:22 in the morning, $4,000 pay in full from a sales guy. And two minutes later, 9:25 in the morning, 4-month, $10,000 pay in full. I didn't sell any of that. So I'm waking up having coffee, and I just made 16 grand for my salespeople who are working on New Year's Eve, not because they have to work. They could have had the day off, but because they work on commission and they love the mission of the brand. And so December 31st, New Year's Eve was great. Me and my wife have a great dinner. I wake up on January 1st, and again, salespeople didn't have to work that day. 10:34 in the morning, $4,000 pay in full. And then there was another one, 6:24. I know exactly where I was at. I went to the University of Utah, and we were losing to Ohio State. There's some Buckeyes in here. I know. And to make it better, though, I'd get a Slack message that's an $8,000 contract. So I'm like, okay, you can have the win. All good. We made $12,000 on January 1st. This is where it gets fun, though. This is Monday, January 3rd. One of the lessons I'm going to teach everybody is you reap what you sow. right? If you're not harvesting, if you're not planting any seed today, it's going to be really hard for you to do this. But because I spent so much money and time planting seed, this is what my Monday looked like. So on Monday, 8:34 in the morning, $4,000 pay in full. 8:42, I mentioned right there, coffee sale. Nothing is more favorite to me than having a cup of coffee and having a salesperson ding my Slack channel and say sell. And then 8:50, 4K pay in full. 12:44, I'm at the gym. Does anybody here, I know we loved fitness in the first place and we got into it, but it's almost like I had to go through this period where I had to let my fitness go because my business got so crazy that it's like, I can't even work out anymore. So if you build the business the way that I'm going to show you, you can be at the gym, which I was at 12:44, $4,000 pay in full. 12:51, different sales guy, $2,000 times 2, another $4,000. 123, still at the gym, $4,000. 341, I was back home at that point, $4,000. And 403, $4,000. And then the emojis down at the bottom was from me, and just a bunch of star emojis. Like, that was a great day, right? That was 7 $4,000 sales that I didn't do all in one day, so $28,000. Obviously, my story didn't start there, though, right? So I also want to show you this little graph because the start of my story really in this online business game was May 9th, 2019. My birthday is May 9th, and I turned 36 years old on the 2019 birthday. And the reason I remember that is because the day before that, I had to take a $20,000 loan out to pay my employees' payroll so that they would get paid. So that month, after being in business since 2010, I was in the gym industry, so I had my own gym. After 9 years of business, I literally had to take out a loan. I could have worked at McDonald's and made more money than I was working in my business. Does anyone ever feel like you're working your ass off, and at the end of the month, there's still no money for you? So at that time, my wife and I had a rainy day fund of about $50,000. I was a father of a 1-year-old, and I felt like I was failing as a husband. I felt like I was failing as a father, and I definitely was failing as a business person who should have had his shit figured out after 9 years in the game and after spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on mentorships and different coaches. So I record a podcast on my birthday in the truck. I just plug it into my phone. Now I have over 200 episodes, but on that day, it wasn't inspirational. I was fucking pissed at myself because I was like, what am I not understanding? And the answer that came to me is like, I'm worried about all the Facebook ad stuff. I'm worried about all the external events. It's always somebody else's fault. I'm always putting blame on somebody else. I'm going to take ownership of this one, and I'm going to finally take this learning lesson that everything outside of me is just a reflection of what's going on inside. And so I took 100% accountability and responsibility for exactly where I was at. I took out that loan because I promised my family that I wasn't going to steal from our savings account anymore. And I got introduced to a gentleman about 2 months later that completely changed the game for me. And so this gentleman, I go to dinner with him and his wife, and he is some master level trainer in this mindset realm that's one of like 40 people in the United States, or the world for that. I don't know which one, but like there's very few of him, right? And so we're eating dinner, and he's listening to me and my wife's story, and I get this feeling, you know that feeling when you know that this one person is understand what interference is inside of you, and you know that they can help rip limitation straight out of you. So I have this feeling, but at the end of the dinner, we are told how much it would cost to work with him to coach us. So once again, I'm like, man, I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars swiping credit card thinking that I'm going to learn some next new trick to fix my business. My wife at this point, if I swipe it one more time, I swear to God, like she's going to slice me, right? But I took her this time, right? Because I don't like that sales objection at all. I got to ask my wife for permission. I don't like that. You guys probably don't like that. So I just brought her to the party, right? So we get to the truck after the dinner, and she looks at me and she says, John, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it all. And so what do it all meant was that the next day, this gentleman came over to our house in Salt Lake City, and I wrote a $40,000 check from our rainy day fund that had $50,000 into it. And I said, I'm going all in here because I'm tired of searching from the outside. I gotta fix this mindset. Mind you, I played in the National Football League. I thought I was pretty mentally tough, but there was something in that mindset that just wasn't clicking. So this gentleman came over to the house. I feel that shaky feeling when I'm writing that check, $40,000, and I'm like, this better work, right? This better work. This gentleman's actually a partner, and he's here. He just moved to Scottsdale. William, will you stand up just so they can see who I'm talking about? Stand up. Changed my entire game. Changed everything in my mind. Changed my perception of reality. Changed the way I spoke. So from there, again, it's too small, but there's a graph, and so it shows the actual dates. And so on my screen, the first event that I did with him, where we actually did work, was September 2019. At the time, like I said, I had a gym, and I had an online business that I was just dabbling in. So my online business was doing about $10K a month, and my gym was doing about $20K a month. All the 20K revenue from the gym was pretty much all expenses, so I was like making nothing from that, right? So the online felt good, but it wasn't predictable. So at that one event, that was like my introduction to this methodology. From there, this gentleman asked me, William asked me, like, what's the one thing that you want? And I said, I want to make $100,000 a month. Does anyone have that goal? It seemed so far away at the time. And he said, why? And I'm like, I've never considered that. My life would just obviously be better, right? I thought that $100,000 a month would solve all the problems that I ever had in my life, which isn't true, but it does make life a little bit easier, right? I heard Alex Hormozy say this, money problems solve money problems, right? So long story short, I go to the event. I have this feeling of conflict in me, though. On one hand, I feel like the gym is dragging me down, and I want to live a life of freedom with the online, but I couldn't let it go, right? I couldn't let this gym go because it was like my security. So I just hung on to it, when I knew that inside that I had to let this thing go. Finally, March 2020, COVID happened, yeah? And it's like I was forced to make the decision. They shut the gym down, and I said, awesome. I made a video for all of my clients that were in the gym, and I said, look, I don't care if you're on contract. I don't care how much contract you have left. We will rip up every single contract, but we're never opening again. If you want to follow me to the online world, we can do that right now. And most didn't follow because they were sold something else. They couldn't conceptualize what this online deal was going to be. So March 2020, I let go of the gym. I was worried about the $20,000 revenue that was there. I was worried about the people, the employees. I just took out all my employees, gave them roles in my online business. And then June of 2020, I hit $100,000, and that was the month, right? That was the month I finally hit my goal. And I can't tell you how good it felt because I had been fighting for 10 years. So Business Insider just did an article on me. It said how this former NFL player built a business from 0 to $250K a month in 24 months. That's like some bullshit part of the story, right? It's a headline. I started business in 2010, June of 2010. It took me 10 years to finally hit that little peak where it said $100,000. Then you see a little bit of a dip because my identity wasn't there yet. I hit the goal, but I wasn't ready yet. So I fall back down a little bit. And then the next event with William was about September of 2020. And then all of a sudden you just see a hockey stick, right? And that last little one, that's my Wave account, March of 2021, over $250,000. But the real story that you can't see right here that's circled, we did a live event that month. That's $365,000 in 1 month. That's more than I used to make in a full year. Guys, I'm talking to you as a fitness coach, though, right? We all know that business to business, we've seen business to business make a lot of money. I'm speaking to you from an actual business to consumer. I'm actually selling fitness to people, just like you. That's what's possible in 1 month. And we are now surpassing 400,000. So I know that I'm not up here just trying to brag. What I want to do today is to help blow your minds about what is possible, and I'm going to show you my exact strategy on how to acquire these customers so you leave with something super valuable. And I know I got to fly, so I will go fast. I'll try to make it digestible. If you need to do screenshots or you need the slide deck because you can't see it, I'll just send it to you guys if you want to, so that you can see some of the stuff that I was talking about.
We got time, man.
We do?
You're good, yeah. So we'll do the expert panel Q&A. We'll see how we're doing.
I might get done, so we'll see.
Close out with this, but I don't want you to have to rush.
Cool. I think that building an online fitness business comes down to these three things. These are the principles. Number one, it's going to be your marketing. I'm going to talk about it. Number two, it's going to be your money, right? It's math for a lot of you. I just had lunch with somebody. I said, if anybody's making $10,000 a month in online fitness, I truly believe they can make $100,000 a month or more. I think it's harder to go from $0 to $10,000 if you don't have a following. I think if you go from $0 to $10,000 per month, then you can go to $100,000. I don't think that's far-fetched. There's going to be some identity stuff we got to talk about. There's going to be some belief stuff. However, a lot of times it's just math, and your relationship with money has to change. So we'll talk about that, and that's going to tie into some of the mindset stuff that William taught me that broke my business wide open. All right. Yes, number 3 was identity. Thanks for asking. Marketing. So the reason I'm going to talk about marketing is because building a robust marketing machine is the only thing that matters if you want a life of freedom. If you don't have a machine that's running in the background, you're constantly going to be worrying where your next client is going to come from. Has anybody been in that cycle? Right? So the way that I explain this is most of you guys have an organic following. Maybe it's 1,000 people, maybe it's 20,000, who knows? But you have this organic following, and think of that like a tree, right? And every time you need a client, you're going to that tree and you're shaking it a little bit. And every time you shake it, maybe some bottom-hanging fruit come down. Or maybe some people have followed you for a little bit, they're finally ready, and you capture that one client, right? And then every single month, you have to go back to that single tree and you've got to shake it. And some months are good and some months are bad. Has anyone ever felt that cycle before? Of course. What I have is an orchard full of trees, so I'm not ever shaking the same tree. I'm planting seeds, new trees are planting, and I have endless amounts of fruit, and I do that through paid advertising, which some of you are going to get really excited when I talk about. So building a robust marketing machine that works in the background, combined with a team that can fill it, gives me a life of freedom where I can go and pick my daughter up from school at 3 p.m. and not have to worry about work, and sales can still happen in the business. Does anyone love sales calls? I hate sales calls. I hate sales calls. Does anyone have this belief that nobody can sell better than them, their own program? Is that a belief of anybody? I literally used to think like, yeah, I can sell high ticket, but like I can't teach anybody to sell high ticket for me. And then with the right training, my sales guys are way better than I could have ever been, right? So we're going to break some of that belief too. So worrying about where your next client is going to come from is a vicious cycle that we need to get out of. So here's what 7-figure marketing looks like to me. Number one, I'm going to spend some time on your message. I'm not going to go super deep into avatar stuff. Of course, we need to know who we're speaking to. However, the actual message that you guys portray is going to be everything for your business. And it's not just a Facebook ad. It's not just an Instagram post. It's not just a podcast. It's not just the VSL strategy that I'm going to show you. Your message is you. Your message is everything. And if you use language carefully, you're going to be able to attract dream clients. If you use language loosely, you're just going to attract everybody, and those people aren't going to be your clients. I made a big mistake in the gym world one time, and I ran a bunch of challenges because the offer was so good, right? And with this offer, I started selling gym memberships like crazy. And then one day I walked into my gym and I realized that in this strength and conditioning athletic performance gym that plays loud music and we're there for results and we like to deadlift and we like to squat and we like to get fucking calluses on our hand, I walked into the gym and I realized that we were just pulling people off the fucking streets and expecting them to buy into our culture. And then they were like, well, you got to do better at cultures, do community events. So I'd be trying to do barbecues and all this bullshit that I could not stand. And I'd walk into my gym with a bunch of people that were just not my type of people, right? And so who was at fault for that? That was a huge learning lesson for me. Your message is going to attract the people that you want to fill your pipeline up with. But if you are just trying to get leads, be prepared to wake up to a business one day that even if you were to succeed a little bit, you might not like, right? That's the difference of having customers that you love because you're on purpose, or customers that you're just like trying to grab some money from. So we're going to get into the message a little bit and my strategy on that. And then I'm also going to show you my exact strategy. So if you were like, John, what would you do today if you had to start from zero? I'm going to actually tell you the exact funnel strategy that I use with paid strategy that I think most of you should run. If anybody is about at 10K or higher, you can run some of this stuff. So $1 million message, what is it? So you see this Facebook ad up there, I have who, what, and why, right? Who am I actually speaking to? And just be prepared. You see that, like that was the other day, that was like last week. That one had 94 shares, 132 comments. How many comments do you think were good on a Facebook ad called traffic? Like literally 2. Everyone's like, fucking steroids, HGH, like, who is that guy? Like, oh, you only played 3 years, bro, like you're nobody. It's like, dude, okay. You're right. And so I used to get pissed off at that, right? When I was on the come up, I was like, dude, like I want to fight everybody. Like I literally like would act like I wouldn't care, but I would just want to like verbally shred these people, right? Now I don't care. I just saw that so that I could put it up there, but you got to know. Like if you get big and you're going cold traffic, people are going to say all types of shit. If you're a female, they're going to say shit about your body. If you're male, they're going to say shit about your body. I get comments on like too jacked, too skinny, too this, too that. Who gives a fuck, right? Right? So you got to get over that. But who am I talking to? If anybody has ever heard me speak in a podcast or speak on video or even go to my Instagram where I actually don't even talk about fitness very much, you will know that I am speaking to a very specific avatar. Successful businessmen. I ran a video ad one time where I'm like, hey, this is for highly successful businessmen. And I got shredded on it. But it was the best performing ad I ever did, because people were triggered that I was only speaking to people who were, quote, highly successful. All the comments were like, well, bro, like, do you have to be successful to get shredded? I'm like, fuck, no. But I'm only talking to people that are very specific in this niche, right? And so it would like trigger everybody else, but the people who were highly successful businessmen be like, oh shit, like this is for me. And then I spoke to people that were highly successful businessmen who had businesses way bigger than me, and they were just like, John, I want to do your program. You spoke right to me. Does anyone know who their exact avatar is and have a name for that person? You do? What's the avatar's name?
You guys raise your hand right now.
Madsen? Okay, cool. Here's my avatar. I was at this big house in Salt Lake City when we lived there. My 2 friends, about 10 years older than me, so I'm 38. At the time I was talking to them, I was probably 35. The guy's name was Mike. He has about 10 billboard signs down the I-15, and his name is Mortgage Mike, okay? He owns a mortgage company. His business did millions, like 20, 30, $40 million. One day we were drinking wine. I went into his room. He had a vision board and on it was a Lamborghini. The other couple's like, dude, one of my friends is selling his Lamborghini. It looks just like it. Mike goes, call him up. Calls him up. They go and see it at 10:30 p.m. Mike writes him a check for over $200,000 for the fucking Lambo. Mike's my avatar. You know why? Because he's in shape. He had a basement gym that had a bunch of stuff. He cares about what he was eating. He watched a documentary and wanted to go vegan one time. And then we get into his pool, and I get out of the pool, and I look like that because I had just done a photo shoot, yeah? And he goes, John, what the fuck? He's like, how often do you work out? I said, like 4 times a week, man. How often do you? He said, 7 times a week, and I do this and this and this. And I'm like, and you're trying to be vegan? And he said, yeah. And I said, Mike, you don't have to do that, man. I'm like, here's my idea, though. I started to tell him my idea for building this business. And I'm like, I want to teach people this, and I want to teach them this. He said, John, I don't care for you to teach me how to make money. In fact, don't try to teach me how to make money. I already got that one down. I just want to know how to look like that instead of this. And I had my avatar forever. Everything I write, everything I speak to, every single podcast I do, every time I have writer's block, I think about Mike. And I'm like, dude, my business people are so busy providing for their family, chasing a higher value than their fitness, which is money to them, and I'm just convincing them that life is better with money and abs. I had this story at lunch. I just bought this R8 that I love that's parked out there, and I was telling my friends at lunch, I said, you know what? I tell people in a way that if they had an R8 or a Lambo or a Mercedes or whatever they have, that nobody really gives a fuck if they get out of that car and they're 30 pounds overweight and their health is shitty, right? And that's a message that's harsh, right? But I understand my avatar, I understand Mike, and I understand he does care what people think. And so I understand that he has every single thing in his life going in one direction. The fancy vacations, he buys his wife Louis Vuitton bags, he gifts her all the time, he lives in the suburbs, he drives a Mercedes or a Lambo, right? And he has all of this stuff, but there's one thing that he has never been able to have. And that's not just good fitness, though. He's already in good fitness. That's fucking elite fitness. Because, Mike, I tell you that life is better getting out of your Lambo jacked than it is average. And some people don't like that message, right? Someone said today, like, you're not for everybody. And so when I finally started to freely express that message all the time, and for anybody that's listened to my podcast, it's over and over and over again. My applications that I get coming to my business are CEOs, they're lawyers, they're attorneys, they're people who make a lot of money. And the thing that they say over and over and over again is, John, like I felt like you were talking right to me. I just went on vacation with my wife and kids. My wife took a photo of me, put it on Instagram, and I almost threw up because I couldn't believe that that's what I actually look like. This guy's a millionaire. He still has those humanistic desires, right? And if I can articulate it better than he's willing to admit, I got a client, and I got a client for life, right? They're not leaving. And I got a high-ticket client for that matter, too. So your who is super important. Who are you talking to, right? And I know this is taught over and over and over again, but I want you to understand that this might be the hardest part in creating your business, but once you have that message down, you can scale faster than you could believe. I did one video sales letter that literally lit my business on fire because I was pissed off. I put a camera out and I just spoke. No script, no nothing. I ran it and I started getting dream customers, and that's when I learned this lesson. In addition to that, what problem do you actually solve, okay? If you go to my Instagram, I would just tell you to do so, John Madsen Official, just so you could see how little I talk about fitness. Because I actually don't like to talk about macronutrients and training anymore. Is anyone tired of actually talking about that? It's just like, why do I have to talk about this all the time? So you really want to talk about what you really want to talk about, but here's the confusing part. People don't give a shit what you want to talk about all the time. So you have to solve one problem to capture their attention. So to Mike, I have to just say, Mike, cool, man, I'm going to get you a six-pack. I got to capture, like, that's the one problem. I tie having belly fat to being average. And I know my avatar hates more than anything. My biggest fear in life is to be average. So I'm speaking to myself. I'm like, and I know Mike hates to be average. So I tie belly fat as a physical representation to averageness, a physical representation to mediocrity, right? And I use powerful language on purpose to attract those customers. So when you go to solve a problem, like Jordan said, you can't be talking about all this life coachy bullshit up front. You can do that on the back end. However, to capture them on the front end, your prospect has one problem they want to solve. Every single one of you has a prospect out there with one single problem that they want and would pay anything to solve. You talk about that one problem, and then you can talk about the symptomology. Does that make sense? Okay, we can go into that a little bit too. So, and then third, why are you the person that they should pay to solve that problem? Right? You have to have a reason. So your story should probably connect the two. I like building businesses. I like talking about entrepreneurship. I like to talk about, making some money. And so I tie the things that I'm good at with fitness. And therefore, for my avatar, I am a business owner. I am an entrepreneur. So I speak directly to that. So for you have to stick out in the marketplace as why you're different than 250 people in the room. Cool? And my little secret for that is to own your superpowers. Own what makes you different. Own your little synchronicities. Own what makes you tick. Because if it makes you tick, I promise you there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people out there that feel the same way. A little bit more on the message. So number one, I just hit on this, know your clients better than they know themselves. Know their deepest desires, right? And their deepest fears that they never admit. So here's another thing powerful that I've done in messaging. A lot of times I see people in copy write about the suck, right? Write about the pain, write about how bad it sucks to not be able to pick their daughter up for, when she's 4 years old or this and that, right? Because they have no energy and know this. Has anyone ever read copy that's just like pain, 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 pain? the frustration. Like, I don't really write copy like that, right? I speak to the desire of my prospect because I want motivated people. If I speak to the pain all the time, like I'll splash it in there, the pain of being average is about as painful as I'll get, but I'm gonna speak to the desire and the feeling of getting out of a Lamborghini looking jacked and shredded, or walking into a boardroom feeling like Batman in a fucking fitted three-piece suit that you just like fill out, right? I'm gonna speak to the desires of it rather than the constant speaking to the pain, because I realize that if I speak to the pain, I'm gonna attract people who want me to save them, not people who want me to inspire them. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, yes, you said, you're like, yes, fuck yes, yeah? Yeah. So I always say this, your message is like bait on a hook, if you think about this. Like you're going fishing for clients, right? So you bait your hook, and your avatar is the type of fish you're going after. I want sharks. My pipeline is full of sharks. But sharks live in a certain place that isn't a pond, right? And sharks also don't eat what catfish eat. They're different types of fish. So what amateur marketers do is they bait their hook with bullshit and catch bullshit fish. And then they blame the fish, right? It's like, dude, you baited the hook. You're the one using your language. So what I want you to understand is be very careful with the way that you speak, because everything that you speak is like bait on a hook for your prospects. So if you're going like, oh, my leads suck, you made them suck because you're the one casting that line out there and reeling in that fish. Does that make sense? Yep. This is truly everything if you're gonna scale someday. So it's your, like, just understand that language is gonna be a huge component of this. Moving on to the actual strategy. That's high level. I know that you guys get hit on avatar, all of that stuff over and over again, so I didn't want to spend so much time on that. I can answer some questions later about that. But here's my actual strategy, okay? Here is a Facebook group funnel. So if anybody here is like, John, that sounds awesome. I'm tired of just running to that same one organic tree. How can I actually plant seeds for the future? This is exactly what I would tell you to do. If you're brand new, there's a Facebook group funnel. I personally don't run this funnel because I'm lazy, but if capital was an issue, I would definitely start here. And this is what it looks like. Oops, right here. You guys see it now. Again, I can send you these slides later, but basically super easy landing page. Facebook won't allow you to advertise just to a Facebook group, so nor would you want to anyways. You would want to take them to a landing page so that they could opt in so that you could capture the email list. The only reason I would run this funnel is not necessarily for the group, because group engagement is really hard. You have to be really good at that. I'm actually not that good at group engagement like that. But I'm doing it to plant seeds and to capture their email address so that I can continuously market to them time after time after time. Remember one of the first slides that I showed you, all of those sales on Monday? When I go and break down how many sales are coming from which funnel that I'm running, it's pretty interesting that most of my sales have been on my email list for 4 months or longer. If your message is super powerful in the funnel that I'm gonna show you in a second, I can capture a person's attention today and close them tomorrow. That does happen, that's probably 3%, right? However, most of the people have got the ad, followed me on Instagram, got on the email list, and then over time, we built that know, like, and trust to the point they're ready when they're ready, right? And that's why I say you reap what you sow. You have to plant seeds. So this Facebook group funnel, the pros of it is it's the safest funnel you can run because it's the cheapest leads. You're promising a free Facebook group. So they're like, oh, cool, like that doesn't sound very intrusive. I'd love to join a free Facebook group, a community. I'll do that. And your leads can be, they used to be like literally $1. Now people are getting leads to free Facebook group for $3, maybe $5, $15, $20, right? Facebook's, anyone running traffic here, just so, a couple people? Some of you guys want to run traffic and not talk to the same people over and over, yeah? Sometime? So it's a safe funnel because you are going to get the cheapest leads. If I were to run this funnel, I would run it with a Trojan horse method, meaning that I would advertise to a free Facebook group, but the free Facebook group, when they connected to it, I would capture an SMS, and as soon as they got in and gave me their information, I would then send them the next piece that I'm going to show you, which is a 10-minute VSL, and that VSL's purpose is to differentiate you from the marketplace. I need them to see the 10 minutes of John speaking to the camera so that they forget about everybody else, and if my message hits, they're like, sign me up, okay? So the Trojan horse method could be, hey, run traffic to this free Facebook group. Yes, you get them into the Facebook group. Yes, you get their email address, but you also get to implant your better strategy, which is a 10-minute video just showing the world how you're different. Make sense? So you could get leads for cheaper that way. However, here's the caveat. Anybody that's ever run traffic knows this. Cheapest leads are not always the best leads. If you're getting leads for free, there's a lot of tire kickers there, and it could be a frustrating process. So just because leads on the top end are cheaper doesn't necessarily make that the right strategy. What other cons do I have here? They're early in the buying journey. So if a person joins this funnel, it's probably going to take them at least 90 days for them to buy. Because again, they're just kind of kicking the tires, seeing what the prices are and stuff like that, and you have to be okay with it. So next slide is the funnel, a ClickFunnels funnel, that has made me almost all of my money. This is version 2. I think if you just go to like projectsuperhuman.com, you could see exactly what this message is. The first version of it was not scripted. This one's a little bit scripted. But this one right here is every bit of traffic that I run for my Superhuman business. So I run Facebook ad, super easy setup. Facebook ad goes to landing page. I capture their email address. They give me their email address. From there, it shows them this video. So the Facebook ads promise is, does anyone know what the Facebook ads promise should be if I was running a funnel to this video? Anyone want to give it a shot? Is it to buy my program? No. Is it to schedule a call? Yes. So the Facebook ad promise is to, hey, watch this 10-minute documentary that I put together that's going to show businessmen who are successful how to get blah, blah, blah with blah, blah, blah. So the Facebook ad is simply telling them, like, you got to watch this video so I can show you something, right? So you don't get confused. A lot of times people write a Facebook ad and are like, they think the purpose is for that ad to join the program or schedule a call. It's not yet. I need them to watch this video, and then that video is selling them on scheduling a call. Make sense? So they watch the video, and then if they like the video, that green button, they click it, it pops up a scheduler, they schedule, and then they fill out an application, okay? The application is super important because it's also a marketing tool. The application has a financial qualifier. So one of the questions is like, hey, are you willing to heavily invest into your fitness right now financially? I'm not like smoke screening them at all. I'm not just taking on any calls because I value my time. So I say, are you willing to heavily invest into your fitness financially right now? And then in parentheses, I think it says, this is probably the most expensive program you'll ever pay for. Anyone buy liquor and you go to the liquor store and you like buy the cheapest stuff? Does anyone, like, this is a personality thing, no wrong answer. Does anyone go and look for cheap price stuff? Some people, right? In college I did, right? Busch Light, all this stuff, like, what's the cheapest? I'll just drink that, right? But at a certain point in life, now there's certain customers that would rather pay premium. So they're not even looking at bottom shelf. They're like, I'm just gonna make my decision. I don't really know tequilas. The $200 one looks better than or it makes sense that it would be better than the $50 one, right? So my application is a piece of my marketing. Hey, dude, this is expensive. I already told you this is for a successful businessman, so it's congruent all the way through. Does that make sense? So I would say that if you want to value your time, if you're new, you want to talk to more people. As you get rolling, obviously, you want to value your time and you want to weed out some people so that you're not talking to everybody. So just understand, don't be afraid to put your stuff out there and talk about this kind of stuff up front because it is a marketing tool if you use it. One other thing that I love about the VSL funnel is literally nobody can duplicate its authenticity. Can't do it. I could give you all the funnel tomorrow. You could script every single thing that I said, and you could try to run it yourself. And the reason it won't hit is because people can feel authenticity. People can feel your authenticity. So people have tried to rip this stuff off from me because on Facebook, you can see what everybody's running at all times. Nobody can rip anything that you do if you're super authentic to you. And if you're in alignment with the message that you want to speak and you're congruent to it, people feel that. So if you watch this video ever, it's 10 minutes of me just being super congruent to the person that I want to join the program. They feel that, they schedule a call. So you can't worry, you never have to worry about anyone ripping your stuff or copycatting it because they literally can't do it. The only way it's going to work for somebody is if they can duplicate their own authentic message. Cool? So that's good. The cons, The reason why I don't like this funnel for some people is it's expensive. The leads that I get from this funnel, you're gonna see, are $44 per email address. Would anyone run traffic for $44 per email address? That'd be scary, right? You guys would be like, shit, take me out of that. If your VSL sucks, it'll just burn money. You'll run people to it, it won't resonate, and you won't get any clients, right? So the next steps for anybody, just because I like tangible steps, if you were to think about this type of stuff, this is kind of what I do. Facebook group funnel setup, just to have, to get yourself ready. It would be good to build. It would be nice, because if you're gonna hit that 10K a month mark, I would definitely start running some traffic there, because you wanna plant some seeds. You want new people to find out about you. My Instagram following has gone up because I run hundreds of thousands of dollars to Facebook advertising. A lot of times Instagram, they might not give me their email address, they just click my profile and they click follow for months and months and months. So my advertising dollars are building my following and getting new people that would never know I exist into my pipeline to listen to my podcast, to see my organic shit on social media, and over time, organic and paid kind of blend together. That's a really good point to get to. So I would definitely set up a Facebook group funnel setup, a VSL funnel setup, which is the video sales letter. Even if you're not gonna run traffic to it, part of sales is pre-framing the sell. So if you guys have ever gotten to the point where you think that you're talking to people and you get to the price and it's $3,000 and they're like, dude, are you like smoking crack? It's a fitness program. What do you mean it's $3,000? It's because they haven't consumed enough stuff from you up to that point, and so when you drop the price on them, they think you're crazy because they're just comparing it to another fitness program that's 99 bucks. Make sense? Right? So if you can get a piece in front of them, like if one of you hit me up about Superhuman, the fitness program on Instagram, I'd be like, awesome, what's your goal? Short conversation, right? Like, what's your goal? They tell me, cool, I think I can help. Here's the deal. I'm gonna send you a video that if it resonates, step 2 is just to schedule a call, see if we can help. We got a ton of different options, and we'll talk to you about them. But step 1 is like, this video has to resonate. So even if you're not gonna run traffic to your VSL, I still make them go through the funnel because they need to see who you are. You need to cut out the noise, and they need to be bought into you before they talk to you. Otherwise, there's no pre-frame. And in my opinion, if your marketing is great, sales are easy. If your marketing sucks, sales is hard, right? I sell people before they're ever on the call, and you can too, even if it's organic, if you just create this little piece, and then it's like, oh, this is legit. I have to watch this video, I schedule a call, I fill out an application, I already know that it's not gonna be a $99 program. I'm on the call, and you don't have that sort of shock factor when you're like, yeah, it's $3,000. And they're like, this person's crazy, right? I was just having a conversation with them on Instagram. Go ahead.
At what point in your business did you create that strategy and implement the 10-minute video? Early in your business, or did you come up with that?
So this was like, great question. This was like the start of my online business. For a moment in time, it was just like some organic posts kind of got me going a little bit. The first version of this video was athleticafceo.com. And it was just me, I just got mad because I was speaking to the same people over and over again organically, and I didn't know when my next sale was gonna come up. So I just spoke this video, I put this funnel, that VSL funnel up, and I just started running traffic to it, and I got really good at math, which I'm gonna show you in a second, and I never looked back. I've literally ran this same exact strategy for about 18 months now, nonstop. And then, don't even think about running any traffic unless you're gonna make sure that there's a back-end follow-up sequence, at least a 7-day follow-up sequence, and not even that, commit to emailing your list at least 3 times a week. Because if you're gonna run traffic for $44 a lead, and then if they don't buy and you're just not gonna talk to them ever again, you're gonna burn cash, okay? So don't think about running traffic until you have that back-end system set up. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'll take it.
I was just, the sequence, so you said it goes from an ad to a landing page, and then you send them the VSL?
Yes, so right here under here, it's gonna go to an ad, to a landing page, right? This is the VSL page. It's like the landing page would actually have email capture.
Right.
Then it takes them to this VSL page that looks just like this. And then if they click that green button, a schedule pops up that goes to my sales team.
And then if they don't book a call, then you said then you have a follow-up sequence, a 7-day follow-up sequence?
We have a follow-up sequence anyways, yep. And then obviously if they sign up, it kicks them out of the follow-up sequence and they go to a client, back-end tag stuff in CRM management, but yeah. Yeah, yep. So, and I do it a little backwards. A lot of high-ticket people say application, then schedule. It's literally never worked for me. I've worked with some of the best marketing companies out there, and they think I'm crazy. We switch it. I don't make money. I switch it back. I make money. So I like schedule and then application.
Why do you think that is?
No idea. The market decides. Every time I'm like, it's got to be something, and I just don't know. So when it makes money, when it's broke, don't fix it.
It's really like split. It's weird. We'll run it vice versa sometimes, and it works. It's weird. It's like unpredictable.
Yeah.
It depends on like the market. And, yeah, it's weird.
You just never know. One thing I always tell my clients is the market's going to decide. How do you know if your message is good? The market's going to decide. Are you making money or are you not? Right? It's literally like it's that simple. So let's get into some of the cool stuff now. So the money game. This is where it gets really interesting. I'm going to show you some real life examples. So really, the only thing stopping you if you are at 10K to get to 100K a month business is understanding simple math. And I promise you, some of you guys are really bad at math and really bad with your beliefs around money. So part of the journey that William, my partner, helped me with is going from the scarcity mindset to uber abundant, which was truly everything. The longer you wait to invest into your business to plant these seeds, the longer you're going to be on this vicious roller coaster of just wondering how I'm going to get new people in my pipeline. The faster you can run traffic and build that email list up, the better your life is going to be. My email list is 50,000 people, and I deleted 40,000 of them because I wanted the open rate to be high, and I didn't want them on the list because they weren't engaging, so I just got rid of them, right? So the faster you can build that email list, the better. The only way you're going to build that email list is running traffic to it. Ah, dang it, I wish you guys could see this. It's so small, but okay, principle for money, right? Advertising is an investment, not an expense. Please write this down. Like, take a picture of it, tattoo it on you. Advertising is an investment, not an expense. Even if I don't get a person to buy today, I'm planting seeds for future trees. Here is my August marketing sales report, okay? So if you guys can't see it, I'm going to read some numbers for you. $103,000 in ad spend. I ran $103,000 in ad spend in August. I'm not going to worry about the applications and appointments and calls and stuff. I got 43 sales from that, so we can do some math there. But the number I want you to pay attention to is new cash on hand. This means from new sales was $160,000. So I basically said, Zuck, Facebook, I'm just going to hand you $100,000 of my dollars, and you're going to give me back 160. Would anyone take that bet? You all would, right? Like, why? Like, you couldn't not take it. I'll give you 100,000. I get back 160,000. So my split on that is 60,000. You don't have to spend 100,000 first. This is all happening at the same time. I'm spending thousands a day. I'm getting thousands back. Okay. The total contracted was 290,000. All my programs are 4 months long. So basically, I said, Zuck, I'll make you a better deal. I'll give you $100,000. But you're going to give me back $290,000 4 months later. Would anyone do that bet? I was eating breakfast. I had coffee with this real estate guy, baller real estate guy. And he said, John, I got this apartment complex that's multi-unit. We're going to flip it in 18 months. This is a home run. He's literally telling me this is a home run. He saw the cars I was driving. He knew that I had some money. I wanted to invest in real estate. Not saying not to do that. But he said, we're going to yield about 25% on this deal. I'm like, okay, so if I give you $100,000 today, hypothetically, 18 months later, if everything goes right, and who knows what's going to happen in the world, if everything goes right, you're going to give me $25,000 back? He said, yeah. And I said, dude, like, that's not smart for me. It might be smart for some other people, right? It's a different investment game, which is a different story. Think about what I just said. I gave Facebook $100,000. I gave my buddy $100,000. 18 months later, my buddy gives me $25,000. Facebook gives me $300,000 4 months later. This is why people are so shitty at math, right? So shitty at math. Like, this is an ATM just printing cash. So I get $290,000 total collected in my Wave account because once this builds over time, now I have recurring. Some people don't pay in full. They're on payment plans. There's back-end stuff. So total collected in Wave is $326,000 in fitness. September I included here because I started to do some fancy marketing stuff. I tried to test some stuff, and this wasn't a great month. We spent $137,000. Now I actually want to break down all of this stuff. So new cash from that 137 was only 153,000. So that's not even $20,000 spread, right? It's almost just a one-to-one return. We did get 47 new sales though, right? However, the contract value was $317,000. So I basically made that trade a little bit less with Facebook again. So the very next month I said, I'll spend $137,000 and you will send me back $317,000. You guys would all make that trade. Please say yes. Yes. So leads, I got 3,000 new leads. So you guys want to know how I build a 50,000 email list? I got 3,000 leads off of that $137,000. That's actually not very good. There's a lot of people that beat these numbers. They're just afraid of their money. So the leads cost me $44.75. Has anyone got scared watching Facebook leads go up and you're just like, oh shit, $15, shut it off? Right? That's what happens to some people because A, they don't understand the full game. They've never played it out. Applications, I got 535 applications, so it cost me $257 per application. So every application was $257. 153 appointments. That means that every time someone hit my scheduler, it cost me $900, and they might not even show up. It cost me $900 for every time someone hit my schedule. We took 99 calls, so the cost per call was $1,300, almost $1,400. So every time my salesperson was on a call, that cost me $1,400, okay? My cost per acquisition, which Jordan set this up perfect for me so I could give you some good numbers, some real numbers here. My cost per acquisition was $2,931. And I was like, damn, that's expensive, right? I'm willing to spend $2,931. Okay? Here's why. Let's go one more. I'm going to go jump to this one, and then I'm going to jump back. All of your profits, if you're going to run this fitness game like I do, all of your profits are on the second, third, and fourth sell. Never forget that. So when I run ads, I'll go 1-to-1 on the front end. I want 1 to 1.5, meaning if I spend $100,000, I want 150 back, but I would continue to run traffic month after month after month after month after month to trade $100,000 for $100,000 and 50 new clients. The reason I would do that is because my email list blows up, and these people 4 months later, 75% of them are going to renew or upsell. And that 4-month mark, that renew or an upsell, that's all profit. And so that's where we make it rain in the business. That's when it starts to get fun. The little money you make on the front end is awesome, but on the back end, it's magic. So if I go, and I think Jordan even said this, I might have taken it out, but the person who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins and dominates the marketplace. Jordan said it, it was in my slides, I might have taken it out, but you have to understand that. If you want to dominate the marketplace, if I can spend more than you, I'm going to bully the marketplace around because most people aren't willing to spend $3,000 to acquire a customer. So right here I say simple math, but your money mindset will fuck it up. Oh, I put that quote right there. When people are scarce, they can't see logic. When people are scarce, and money is such an energetic, polarizing thing, and it comes with so many limiting beliefs and decisions and programming from your childhood, when people are scarce, that logic gets thrown out the window. So I've helped fitness pros, and they're like, John, I'm getting 4x return. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. How much did you spend? And they said $10,000. I'm like, cool, so you contracted $40,000. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, why didn't you spend more? And they're like, I don't know. Like, it felt like I would, see, they go to feelings over facts. It felt like more money was going out than was coming in. I'm like, oh, it felt like that, right? It felt like, that's a feeling. But the facts say otherwise. You spent $10,000, you contracted 40. Your spread is $30,000. You're getting 1 to 4x, I'm only getting 1 to 3x, but I'm ramping that ad spend up to $100,000 because as soon as I see 1-to-1 on the front end, if I was coaching any of your business, if I saw something that converted at 1-to-1, I would just pour gasoline on that fire until it broke. And at whatever point it broke, I'd be like, okay, let's try to fix it a little better. So here's how I did this game with myself. When I first got started in that VSL, that question was awesome. I ran $10,000. I realized that I hit like 4 to 5x on the front end. So I asked myself, what if I just ran $20,000? I'm just going to play a game. I'm not going to meddle with it every single day. I'm going to let it run. So I ran $20,000 and I wondered if the numbers held true, and they did. So it went from 10 to 20, and then the next big jump was doubling it again to 40, and I just ran traffic at $40,000 a month. I stayed there for a little bit. Why? Because I was scared. I was getting a little scared. It was making me feel uneasy, all this cash going back and forth. My numbers were still good, right? Then I doubled it again, $80,000. Then the most I've ever spent in a single month is $150,000, right? Notice this. You're like, John, if this is still working, why don't you spend $300,000? What's the answer? I don't know. I'm scared, right? So at every level, it creeps back up, right? Like, I get to a point where my boundary is like, oh, fuck, like, put on the brakes a little bit. But if I just follow my own advice, I hypothetically should just, like, spend more money, right? But it gets scary because if I'm running this much money a day, it's like I'm running, I don't know what the math is, let's just call it $4,000 a day. And if my Slack channel doesn't pop off, then I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, what's going on, right? And if it goes like 3 days, you get a little bit scared. But have you ever had a client, a weight loss client, that seemingly does everything right for a week, right? After 5 years of not doing anything right? And they're like, oh, this doesn't work. The scale didn't move. And you're like, well, have a little faith. Like, just do that same thing over a couple weeks. You're going to see result, right? And that client can't see far enough. They're just like, oh, it didn't work this time, right? And that's what people do with Facebook ads and paid traffic, is they dip their toe in and they get it right back out, right? What you need to do is you got to test your message, even if it's a little increments, to get new people to see if it's going to connect. And if it connects, as soon as it connects and you get one-to-one on the front end, that just gives you runway to do it again. Because if to get someone to a starting point in our program, we make them spend $3,000 on a Facebook group funnel. And from that $3,000, we want to see how many leads they get. Because if we break this math down, let's just say that you got $10 leads to a free Facebook group and you spent $3,000. How many leads would you get? 300. So you'd have 300 new prospects into an email list. Do you think you could sell one of those 300? If you sold one of those 300 for a $3,000 program, you basically break even. And then you get to graduate and say, you know what, let's spend $6,000 next month and see if I can do a little bit better. I'll get better at sales, my message will be a little bit better, and you just chip away at that messaging. But nobody does it, they're too afraid to jump into the water, okay? So I wanna encourage you all to think about, if you can get to $10,000, the rest is just math and meticulously cutting down that message. See what else I got. Oh, money mindset, another thing. You don't think you can sell high ticket price. This was a huge one. When I went to Williams training, I was selling my program for $1,600 for 4 months. This was 2019, okay? This is not actually that long ago. And he's like, you gotta raise your prices. And I've heard that from how many people? Like 100 different people. I've had so many coaches tell me this. But I would actually have people schedule on the phone, and then I'd, in a weird way, hope they didn't show up. Has anyone ever felt like that? It's like, oh, yeah, so I'm not weird, right? It's like, I'm like, yes, I got a schedule. And then I'd be like, 10 minutes before the call, I'm like, I hope they don't show up. Like, dude, I thought I had a problem. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me, dude? I must like lighting my $100 bills on fire, right? I'm glad I'm not alone, by the way. I've never shared that on stage, so that feels good. But anyways, that's where the blockage comes from, right? And so this is a screenshot. You can't see it. It's an $18,000 sell, because the way that I started stacking my prices is I started getting busy. And so I was the marketing engine behind it. So eventually I was like, okay, it's $2,000 to work with my team. It's $4,000 to work one-on-one with me. And that was like an easy, like, conceptual thing. And then 8 out of 10 people, because it was my message, would be like, I just want to work with you. $4,000. Like, whoa, that was easy, right? That was like, because I had a price anchor, and then people took it, and I couldn't believe it. And then the people who couldn't afford it, they'd be like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'll work with one of your coaches. All good. So I was like, I'm too busy. I'm going to do it to $3,000 and $6,000. 7 out of 10 took the $6,000 price. And I was like, whoa, that price anchor thing is really weird. I'm too busy. I can't coach anybody anymore. Let's do $10,000. So then it was like $3,000, $10,000. And then when it was one-on-one, when it was offered as one-on-one, I don't coach anybody in my business anymore, but when it was offered as one-on-one, we would get like 4 out of 10 to do $10,000. My roster was so big, I was like, guys, like, just make it $18,000. It was actually $20,000, and I said, if anyone pays in full, like, they could break it in two. I'm like, if they pay in full, I'll take 18, I'll do it, okay? So the CEO of one of the top 10 companies in the whole United States, or the whole world, right? Not the CEO, it's like next up in line CEO. He finds my message somehow, someone sends him a podcast, he comes in the pipeline, all of a sudden my sales guy goes, dude, we just changed this price yesterday, I just sold $18,000 pay in full. I was like, holy shit, I've never sold $18,000 paid in full, right?
John, would you say part of that is too, like, you had no attachment to the outcome of that,
so like subconsciously, there's a variable there too, right? You weren't desperate for the sale, so you got the sale. Right?
Exactly. And exactly. Like, I actually didn't want any one-on-ones. It would be nice, but I didn't care. It was like, all I want is that to be a price anchor. Because, do you know, like, there's a saying, like, how do you sell a $5,000 watch? You put it next to a $10,000 watch. And the person goes in there, they're like, damn, I really want that $10,000 watch. I can't afford it today. $5,000 sounds cheap, though. That's a deal, right? So you want a price anchor. You guys have to have a price anchor. Every single one of you has to have a price anchor, even if nobody takes it, just to make the other offer sound more appealing, okay? So we sell this $18,000 pay in full thing, 4 months. This guy crushes it. 4 months later, he's like, what's next? I'm like, well, dude, like, if you want to work with me specifically again, it's just the same thing. So we do the upsell, the downsell, but me, like, if I was taking one-on-one clients, like, we don't do that because I didn't want them. And he's like, cool, I'll send you another $18,000. I'm like, awesome. $36,000, right? 4 months later, John, I can't do this shit without you. I just love going and knowing what I got to do. I just want you to, be my friend. Cool. $18,000. So this guy, like, think about it. What I say here. All your profits are on the second, third, and fourth sell. Never forget that. This one client was worth $56,000, and he's referred 2 people. Where do sharks hang out with sharks, right? So my referrals from him are incredible. So don't ever forget, like, if you have your back-end system dialed in, and what you spoke about, what Jordan spoke about, is everything. I'll just share what I do. If someone sells our 4-month program, just our signature model, it's $4,000 for 4 months. Cool? What we do is on the back end, we say, look, it's going to be half as expensive. You want to continue working with us, we're going to take you through different phases. You know that you want to continue working with us. Our culture is badass. Like, all the systems are in place. Now it's not $4,000 for 4 months. It's actually $4,000 for 8 months, so it's 50% less expensive. If you take any time off, you will have to come back in at the $4,000 for 4 months, but if you renew right now, you actually get double the stuff, and we get 75% retention. But that's not a tactic or strategy. All that comes down to my coaches fulfilling at a super high level. If your fulfillment sucks, you won't retain anybody. So understand, like, you can have those tactical things that help you, but if your fulfillment isn't dialed in, nobody's gonna want a part of your business if they didn't get what they wanted out of it. Make sense? Okay, let's move on. Some of this cool stuff. I'm going to talk about mindset, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Fear, doubt, and limit. So here's the deal. Everything that I just shared with you guys and girls is not going to matter that much. Everything that a lot of people are going to share with you doesn't really technically matter that much if you're crippled by fear, doubt, limitation, and unworthiness, right? So my belief is that everything that you guys want to manifest in your business, in your life, is out there, right? And what we have to do is we have to remove the resistance, we have to remove the limitations. So the reason that I was able to do William's training and him to go in there and rip out limitation from my brain and my mindset and my being is because once I realized that the limitation and that unworthiness, or that I didn't deserve it, or I didn't give myself permission to win, once that was removed, I could then speak my message freely. But if that fear is still there, it's going to be really hard for you to ever speak freely in that messaging because you're afraid of something. So the thing I need you to understand is if we don't rip this stuff out and work this stuff out internally, your external world is not going to change. You guys nod if you understand that, okay? Tactics and strategy, very important. Coupled with mindset, that's what some of you are missing right now. Of course, we need to be masters in our craft, but we have to understand and have awareness about where we're blocked and where we're caught up, okay? So while everybody else wants to talk about the offer, the funnel, the Facebook strategy, and I shared that stuff with you, or the newest outbound messaging tactic, whether you succeed or fail is an internal game. 100% of why Jordan and Aaron are succeeding is they've done work internally, and their external projection is just projecting that out for them to feel and actually live, okay? The cool part about it is it's not super hard. Every single person can do it. You just have to know where to look. I'll talk about these 3 limitations for me personally was like the biggest shifts, okay? And for you, I'm guessing you guys are probably a lot like me, and you'll probably nod in agreement that fear is one of the biggest ones, okay? So when we talk about fear, the one thing I want you to consider is what in the actual fuck you're afraid of, specifically. because we have this like general fear that's keeping us stuck. And that's the hardest part, right? When we get specific about like what it is we're afraid of, then we can actually move and try to acknowledge that fear and play with it a little bit, okay? We can move from fear to courage in that sense. So yes, what are you afraid of? Who are you afraid to fail in front of specifically? This is a big question, okay? Because most of you, if I were to ask, what's your biggest fear? If I were to ask you what your biggest fear was and I said failure, how many would raise their hand? Does anyone fear success? Some enlightened ones, yes. What does anybody else fear? Can anyone say something that's not either of those two things? In the back of the room? Not living up to your fullest potential? Not, okay, cool. Yes? Bingo, right? And so, go ahead. It changing you. Yes. This was perfect. One of my biggest learnings. When my business went hockey stick up, this is what happened. I'm doing this training, and I'm getting these questions asked to me, right, in this hypnotic trance, and this fear question came up, and I'm like, what am I afraid of? What am I, like, truly what am I afraid of? And I started to realize that I was afraid of winning and losing likability and relatability. I never considered this. Because every story that we've read, every book that we've read, every movie that we've read has talked about this hero's journey. And in order for the hero to be loved, there's got to be massive adversity. And I started to think about my football career when I broke my leg with 3 games left and went from a first-round draft pick to undrafted. Literally went from being the fourth, like they were talking about me as the 3rd or 4th best receiver to come out in that draft. And with 3 games to go, I break my leg, break my ankle, I can't run at the combine, and I can't run for 10 months. And I realized that I've been living out this story of the hero's journey my whole entire life. I'd get so close, and then I'd sabotage myself back down because everybody loves adversity. Everybody loves Rocky. Nobody likes the fucking Russian, right? Nobody likes the person who all they do is win. That's what I thought. If you just win, nobody's going to like that. You're not going to be likable to people, right? And again, this is vague, so I zeroed in on it. Who specifically am I afraid of to not have this relatability and likability? This question is powerful. Who specifically, right? And I'm like, well, the trolls on Instagram don't care. I don't really care about my friends in high school. I don't necessarily care about my college friends in the sense of what they thought about. But it occurred to me in that moment that the people that I was most afraid of was my family, mom or dad, right? I was afraid that if I changed, that if I won, that if I got out of that R8, I bought a Bentley this year too, and my dad flew in, he's like, you got a fucking Bentley in your driveway? And I was worried about that. I had never considered it, right? And I considered it before it happened. And I realized that I was afraid of losing my mom or dad's likability or lovability, that if I was to succeed and just win at a super high level as an entrepreneur. At that point, I lived about 7 minutes away from my parents. I was living in Salt Lake City. I went into my wife's, and mind you, my parents are my best friends, biggest supporters. So I realized how ludicrous that actually was. They would love me anyways, right? So I came to that conclusion. I went into my bedroom, and I looked at my wife. I said, we're moving. We're going to Scottsdale. And she's like, are you serious? I've been wanting to get out of this place for 10 years. And I said, I know. She said, you said you were never going to move. And I said, I wasn't, but now I am. And I had this like chills all over my body. I was like, I hit the core of it. I realized what I was really afraid of. And to just break this chain completely, we're going to go live where we want to live. We're going to start a new life. And she's like, well, we tried to sell this house last year. How are we going to sell it? We got to get the money out of this house to move to Scottsdale. And I was like, babe, don't worry about it. I got it. I text William. I said, new goal. October 2021, we're moving to Scottsdale. He said, good goal. Text back. Set it out there. Put it in the universe. 3 days later, realtor comes to our house, knocks, unannounced. He says, knocks on the door. My wife answers. I was downstairs doing a podcast, and she comes down with this flyer, and she says, this realtor just came by, and he said that he has people that are selling their house under contract. They need to move to another house, and they want a house on this exact street, and there's nothing for sale, and this guy was wondering if we'd sell our house. And I said, like, is it a scam? Like, what's going on? And she's like, no, I think it's for real. Right? And so I'm like, cool, they can show the house. That night at 7 p.m., they had this family walk through our house that wasn't for sale. The next day, we had an offer on our house. We called a realtor in Scottsdale and said, hey, we got to find a house, right? We flew down to Scottsdale, found a house. In 30 days, we were in Scottsdale. House was sold in Salt Lake City. Everything you want is around you. When you remove the blockages and interference of the universe, you can manifest your dreams, okay? That's what I had to learn. If you're blocked and there's conflict about it, if I kind of want to move but don't want to move, I can't receive. That conflict is blocking. If I kind of want my physical gym and kind of want an online business at the same time, there's conflict there. Until you find the conflict and get the fuck rid of it, you literally can't move. And so that's why I say it doesn't matter about the funnels and the strategies and all the bullshit. It truly matters of you being aware of what's holding you back and getting rid of it. That's a Bentley. So my wife wanted a G-Wagon. I was like, cool, I like those things too. So I go to this car dealer, I see the G-Wagon, I'm like, I think she'll like that. But then he sold me a Bentley too. Because I was like, that's cool, like I just want that, right? And so, think about this. This was kind of like, in a way, maybe immature. However, I had just gone 10 years of my business life not having stuff, wanting some sort of success. So I get into this deal. I actually called William that day. I'm like, dude, they're trying to sell me 2 cars though. He's like, how much do they want down? And I said, a lot. And he said, does it make you feel uncomfortable? I'm like, fuck yeah. And he said, go do it. You have to do it. Do you want it? I'm like, yeah, I want it. He's like, go do it. And at this point, my business was doing $185,000 per month, right? And we have a goal for every mark. So my wife said, what are you going to do when you hit $200,000 a month? Because it took 10 years long to get to that mark, I was like, well, maybe in 2 years we'll hit that goal. Who knows, right? But she's like, no, what are we going to do? I'm like, look, if I hit $200K a month, we're going to take a private flight to Vegas. We're going to stay in a suite, and we're going to go out. And she's like, because we hadn't been out. We have a little 3-year-old, right? We've been cooped up. So she's like, okay, awesome. And so February hit. We hit $187,000. I think it was $187,000 to be exact. The next day, we would have hit $200,000. However, February was a short month. There was only 28 days, so I didn't hit the goal. I'm like, dang it. February 14th comes, and this was the gift. I'm like, well, I'm going to buy these cars anyways. William tells me to do it that month. The very next month, we skipped 200 and hit 365. Whoa. It's abundance, like scarcity to abundance. Part of what's blocking people is this inability to let themselves feel that abundance, okay? If you're scarce, I'm not saying be stupid, right? If you don't have the money, don't do it. However, that feeling of abundance begets more abundance, okay? So scarcity to abundance, super important. Identity here, this is what I talked about. This is huge. Okay, so consider that any conflict between what you think you want, right? If you were to ask yourself right now, what do you really want? Any conflict about that and what that would mean to your identity if you were to achieve it must be removed, okay? So what I told you, I had to get clear about what if I were to succeed like this, what would that mean to my other values unconsciously? I came to grips with that, I removed it, magic starts to happen. So at the identity level, you have to remove any conflict, because without removing it, that interference will not manifest what you want, you will continue to manifest what you don't want. People say, John, I don't really believe in the law of attraction, right? I only get stuff that I don't want. Well, that's a law of attraction in reverse. You can't stop concentrating about the shit that you don't want, and you keep attracting that shit in your life. Focus on what you want relentlessly, okay? Right down here, actually, this is better. In fitness, a lot of times we're teaching behavior change, right? And so we wonder why people can't change their behavior, or even if they do change their behavior, the results don't last. Because right there I put down 90% of adults who lose weight regain all of it and more. You guys know this, right? 70% of lottery winners who receive a large sum of money go bankrupt within a few years, yeah? Over 75% of NFL players who ever go to the NFL lose all their money. I was one of them. I went to zero years ago. I was done in 2010. My money was gone in 2012, right? That was my identity, was just this small town kid from a small town city who battled adversity and kind of made it and was a lovable hero of his little circle. That was my identity. I kept playing that shit out until I gave myself permission to win. Core value number 1, I'm glad somebody said it. Core value number one in Superhuman, if someone comes into my business, they get a card in the mail. Core value number one is give yourself permission to win. That goes for everybody. That's been said twice now, right? You all deserve to win. The problem here, though, is if you truly want to change, your identity comprises all your values. And your values are going to dictate your beliefs, and your beliefs are then going to make happen your behaviors. Not just your behaviors that you're aware of, the little micro behaviors that you're not aware of. And those micro behaviors and macro behaviors are going to end up in the result. So if people keep trying to change their behavior and get a result, it might work in the short term, but then they always go back. So I think of it like a thermostat. If everybody's just set at a cool 68 degrees, when you start getting hot or you start making sales, all of a sudden something happens. Seems external, right? Seems like it's a Facebook problem, it's a world problem, it's a president problem, it's whoever problem. And then all of a sudden self-sabotage comes back in and takes you right back down to where you're comfortable because you haven't ever considered what your true identity is, and you're tied to the past instead of being relentlessly focused on that future version of you. So people keep making decisions based on who they were, not who they want to be, right? And if you can't make decisions at that level, then you're going to continue just be in this vicious cycle. Cool? We'll end here. Sorry it went a little longer. Little story of the elephant. Anyone here? No, you guys know the story, yeah? So there's this guy, and for those of you that haven't, I'm not going to say it word for word, but here's the story. There's a guy that goes to this safari in Africa, and he sees this giant elephant, big, beautiful creature, tied to a single stake with a tiny little rope. And so as he's walking by, he's like, whoa, and he looks at the local, and he's like, why isn't that elephant moving? That's just a tiny little rope. That elephant is powerful beyond all measure, yet he's standing straight, being tied to this tiny little stake. And the guy's like, he won't move. And the guy's like, why? And he said, because when they're baby elephants, it's not just a little rope. They drive a stake into the ground and chain one of their legs. And so no matter how much that elephant thrashes and tries to move and kick, it's stuck. And they do it long enough for that conditioning to set in. So no matter how big and powerful the elephant grows, it's still tied to its baby elephant identity. And with that baby elephant identity, it doesn't know how powerful it truly is. And so the thing I want you to consider tonight, and the reason I wanted to talk about this stuff, is that you guys are failing to realize that we're all born for success, okay? I want you to consider how much pleasure you can have in your business, not how much pain it's going to take. I want you to realize that your past does not determine your future, and that you can have whatever you want, but you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to go to work on your skill set. You're going to have to go to work on your mindset, and there's going to be a dance between those two things, right? But we have to become aware of what we're not aware of so that we can get the result that we ultimately want. So I know I went a little longer, but I do have a 3-hour presentation where I go into detail, and actually William is on there for like an hour of it, talking about the exact mindset shifts that took me and kind of broke me free and help other people. So if you do text that number right there, and you just go capital letter 7, it'll send you to a landing page where if you do give us your email address, you will be on my email list, but you will also get immediate access to the 3-hour training that's like in depth into the weed stuff where you'll get to see some of the slides. It's even more in depth than what I shared with you today. I felt like I spoke a lot and took a lot of time. I want you guys to truly just take a breath right now with me, okay? And I'm going to leave with this. I want you to picture a day for me. Picture a day when you are doing one of your favorite things. You're at the spa, you're on the golf course, you're at the lake fishing, and your Slack channel is banging new sales, and you're not doing the sales. I want you to picture and just feel what that would feel like and how much freedom you would have, okay? I want you to picture a day when you wake up and you're not riddled with imposter and limitation and doubt, but you feel confident about what you're going to do, and you feel excited to take action, okay? And my favorite one yet, I want you to picture a day when your wife can walk away from a $350,000 corporate job because we value as a family freedom over money. My wife just did that. She held this shit down for me when I was an entrepreneur on the come up, okay? So me being able to create this as an entrepreneur for her, if you have a spouse, if you have a family, I want you to picture a day how powerful that will be if you decide to go all in on yourself. That $40,000 check that I wrote to William, I had 10,000 left for my family. There was no abundance there. That was just like, I gotta go all in. So if you're gonna do this, I would just urge you to stop dipping a toe in the water and to start actually believing in what's possible and go all the way in, not half in. Thank you. Thank you.